What's up, y'all? It's your boy KevOnStage with the lovely and luxurious Miss KevOnStage, my wife, wearing the necklace I bought her for the first time 9.5 months after I purchased it. Today, we are talking about submitting and why black women don't know how to submit, even though they're raised in the church. Submitting is a very, I don't want to say taboo topic.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
It's tension.
I feel like it might be harder for black women because they are stronger, like that. The not stronger, but stronger.
I think it's for women in everywhere, every race, every generation, every race, color, creed.
You think so?
Yes. Why do you think there was a doggone women's movement?
Yeah, you're right.
Women were like, no, we're not gonna take it.
But there's this stereotype that I don't hear women of other color having this argument as much.
Yeah, because you don't hang around women of other color to have this conversation.
Touche. Okay, women of all creeds, colors, races, ethnicities, weight, size, length of hair.
I think if any church has this conversation, all of the women would be like, now wait a minute. I got something to say about this. I just think that's just natural human nature to not want to just feel like a doormat.
So is submission when you cook, bring my plate?
No. I think that's just a loving, respectful gesture.
Because you don't bring my plate.
Oh my goodness.
When we have barbecues, all the other wives bring the plates. And you don't. See, look at you not submitting right now. If you were a wrestler, you would never tap out if you were in the UFC. Okay, so what does it mean to submit or to not submit? What is submission?
Okay, so my definition of submission is sub, meaning under. Mm-hmm. So you're just being under the mission of your house. That's literally the only thing that I think of it as, is that there's a goal for your house, there's a mission for your house, and you've decided to be under or in agreement with whatever that mission is.
That doesn't sound nearly as daunting.
Because I really don't think it's that. I really don't think it's a bad thing or a bad word for women. I think what makes it bad is when men think that because my woman is to submit to me, this now becomes a dictatorship and I run this.
So we're out here Fidel Castroing those marriage.
Exactly. And that's when we're like, now wait, I got something to say. And I think that's where it becomes a problem for women, is when it becomes that way. Because when you really think about it, you submit to everything. When you stop at a red light, you are submitting to the laws of the land. When the speed limit says 45 and you're abiding by 45, you are submitting to that. When you go to work and you show up at 8 o'clock because your start time is at 8 o'clock, you are submitting to that. So in some respect and regard, you're voluntarily submitting to a lot of different things. It's just that when it comes to your household and you feel, when you stop at a red light, that's by choice. Yeah. When you come in at 8 o'clock, that's by choice. And when you come home and your husband feels like, now what is going to happen is this. And you're like, no, that's not really what I was thinking. Well, does it matter? That's when there's a problem.
Right. So our marriage is a dictatorship or democracy or communist? What is it?
A partnership.
Partnership doesn't mean somebody's under one, though. It's equal.
Well, you are... Well, I guess he is the head.
So he's the CEO, but she's on the board?
I can go with that.
But he is the CEO?
I can go with that.
All right. You heard it first, man.
But
Chief Executive Officer.
Yeah, but please know.
Chief Executive Officer.
The board.
Don't you say it can vote the CEO out. So why do you think it's so hard? If just submitting means to, what did you say? Be under the mission of the household.
Right, be in agreement with.
So why do you think there's such a hard, it seems a lot of women before they even get married are like, what I'm not going to do is this.
Because submission involves, to me, these are my own revelations of what I've come up with to help me deal with this, is that it involves respect and trust. And I think those are the underlying issues with submission that brings a problem. So if I'm submitting, which I'm in agreement with the mission.
Right.
So if I'm in agreement with this, I have to trust that the decisions you're making are going to be sound decisions. And if I don't trust that, then we're going to have problems.
Right.
I have to respect that the decisions you make are going to be sound, and I'm gonna be in agreement with it, and I'm gonna go with it. And if I don't respect you, then that's going to be about a problem. And that's really what I think the two main ingredients are. And that's why it's important for the man not to have the mentality that it's a dictatorship, and instead a partnership in which the woman can have advice or give counsel or offer her opinion, and it's taken into consideration heavily when making those decisions. So that way I know I've weighed in and you've weighed in, and we've had a discussion about it, and I know how you feel, I know you know how I feel, and when you make this decision, I can be invested in the decision. Because if it doesn't happen and you just make a decision and it goes wayward, I'm gonna be looking at you like this.
Like I was waiting on you at the door. I think it's for me, especially, and for other men, a lot of times the hard part about being the leader of the house is the fear of messing up, the fear of making a mistake, and even more than that, it's the fear of your wife being like, see,
right,
now I told you.
Right.
I said you wasn't going to do that, because it's hard enough to be like, this is what we're going to do, this is why. But
I think I think that's the problem. Before a decision is made, there has to be a discussion. And when there is so it's, okay, I'm thinking about this. Okay, well, I think this. Okay, well, I think this. Okay, well, I think that. Well, I think this. And then we go back and we ponder. I'm going to take what you said. You're going to take what I said.
Right.
We're going to think about it. We'll come back to the table, and then you make a decision. But if you come at me like, I've decided we're doing this, I'll be like, no.
But I feel like
I'm not interested in that. And that's where you'll have a problem. As soon as you say, because that is...
That's like pulling out the race card.
Yeah, it's disrespectful.
I don't know if it's disrespectful as much as it's disregarding.
It's dismissive.
It's dismissive.
That's the word we're looking for.
We need 3 dishes to get it right.
To get it. It's dismissive.
It makes your wife feel like her opinion's not valued.
Doesn't matter.
And then she just has to suck it up and go with the... So maybe it seems like you think... It seems like you're saying that men... What happens is men misinterpret what submitting means, and therefore make it hard for the woman to submit.
Exactly.
Because they're coming at it like, here's what we're going to do. And if she says anything other than, yes, master... you know what this episode, what we should have started this with? What do you like? Whatever you like.
Right, yeah, we should have.
No, I mean, what do you like? Whatever you like.
I just posted that.
Bark like a dog. Woof, 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 woof. Woof. A big dog.
That's my favorite part.
But I think, is that where men think submission is?
Yes. So I was reading earlier, and it says, the Greek word for submission is... that Greek word, which means...
In the Greek, it means oikos baklava.
Hupotasso. You're better at that than me.
Where are we at? Hupotasso.
Yeah, okay, that's what I said. Hupotasso, which means to subordinate or put under.
Right.
God exhorts women to voluntarily follow their husband's leadership. And I think that word voluntarily, again, going back to the example of stopping at a red light, whatever, it's a voluntary thing. And so I think men have to realize...
Voluntary is good.
I said this to you earlier, and that is, men can't take that role. Women have to give that role. And I feel like that's the only way that there'll be peace in the home. Because if all you're trying to do is take it by force... Right. She gonna be...
But the Bible says the kingdom of violence take it by force.
Yeah, but you're not the kingdom of violence.
Kingdom of heaven.
You're not that.
But the violent, take it.
But I feel like you'll always have tension in your home. You'll always be bucking if you feel like you got to go in there and take it.
So it's kind of like, if we can use a sports analogy, it's kind of like if a quarterback comes in and says, I'm the quarterback, you guys will listen to me, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. He is the leader of the team. Right. But when a quarterback earns the respect of the team, say, hey, guys, I'm the leader here.
Okay, but wait, you got to stop.
Okay.
Because this is also important. Women, this is important. Your submission to your husband is not dictated by his merit, though.
Not dictated by his what?
Merit.
What do you mean?
He can't... It does... his earning it does not, because you feel like he makes bad decisions and I really don't trust his decision making, you can't be like, nah, I'm not submitting, I'm gonna run this. Because you're not doing it really unto him, you're doing it unto God. So you can't say you have to earn, like we always say, you have to earn my respect, and it's not, this goes back, we're reading this book called, actually we're auto listening to this book because ain't nobody got time to be sitting down and turning pages. It's called Love and Respect. It's a great, great, great book. We're only on like chapter 2. And he was talking about unconditional love, that women require, and unconditional respect that men require. So men are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. And so that's commanded by Christ, from Christ, of the man.
Right.
And the same is required of the woman to the man.
Right.
So I can't be unlovable. And my husband's like, nope, I'm done loving you. Because you know what? You're just being a bit ratchet. And that just absolves you from loving me. And the same is true of respect. As much as we like to say respect is earned, you can't, that's not how it works in a marriage. You have to respect your husband and honor him and submit, because you're not really doing it unto him. You're doing it as commanded of God.
But that means that if you're doing it as commanded unto God, then he also has to be led by God,
right?
And loving his wife as
right.
Christ loved the church. So submitting to a man that's not being led by God has got to be super tough.
Oh, I imagine so. I am most certainly,
because you're playing by rules that he's not playing by.
Exactly. And I go talk to your pastor about that. I'm not here to offer that advice. I don't know. I'm just here to say, about the submission, because you said the quarterback has to come in. He has to earn that. And in that role, he does. But in this role...
So you're saying submission is not earned. It's
unconditional love, unconditional respect. And they go hand in hand. So now we're talking about the book.
I know. Let's talk about submission. And you keep going off because you like this book.
Well, but because respect is an aspect of submission.
Yeah, if your wife doesn't respect you, it's going to be pretty hard for her to submit.
Exactly.
And then the more your wife doesn't submit, the more he's just going to be like, he's not going to go the other way and being like, oh, you should,
we should maybe I should take discussion about it.
Yeah, it's going to be like, she don't listen anyway, so we're just going to do what I'm going to do because I'm the man.
Exactly.
I'm the man.
Exactly. And that's why I keep going back to the book, because they go hand in hand.
I'm going to tell you, man, it's tough to... Oh, let's talk about our real life. So we have real life time. Story time with Liz and Kev. Can we do that every time we have story time?
If you like.
Story time.
I feel like it was for the
Liz and Kev, Lord. It's mail time. I just stole it.
We just got a Blue's Clues.
Oh, we just got a letter.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter.
Okay. Enough of that PBS crowd.
I wonder what it says.
It says, submit, woman.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so when we lived in Washington... I want to say probably about 3 years before we moved. Longer?
Yeah, I would almost say actually when you were, I guess maybe that was, no, I think it was before. You guys were still at the bank.
I was at Bank of America.
Yeah. I would want to say like when you were transitioning from Bank of America to Key.
No. It was at Lakewood Bank of America. This was like...
Regardless.
It was early. It was like...
Time frame
5 to 7 years before we actually moved.
Yeah, man, it was a long time.
Little backstory. We probably said this, but if you haven't, don't know this. Melissa and I grew up military, and both of our dads were in the military. So we met on a military base, and by the time before we finished college, I think, or maybe shortly after we finished college, my parents had left, and her parents had left, and her sister had left. Mm-hmm. So we had very little family left in Washington, and we had moved around a lot, but we had never moved around without our parents or somebody, So we were talking about moving, and I remember we had a couple cities.
It was like somewhere in
Dallas,
Texas,
maybe Atlanta,
Georgia.
I think that was boiled down.
No, I think here was an option. We didn't think we could afford it at the time. So
yes.
It was like, we'd like to move there, but Atlanta's kind of like the Black Hollywood, so that'll do.
Yeah, I think we had before Little Rascals and YouTube, we had pretty much decided that it was going to be Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because that would have given us close to our family, and We could do entertainment stuff and all that. So what happened was we got in. I don't want to say got into it. Did we?
We had family discussions. Me and you, Jay and Tam.
We had full
and Nick. Full.
Were they arguments though?
Well, I mean, they were. We weren't yelling at each other, but there were
intense discussions,
raised decibels because we were intensely on opposite ends. Like we just disagreed.
Yeah.
But it was a family environment, so it wasn't like we were like arguing, but we were definitely disagreeing.
Yes, we were definitely disagreeing, and I kind of felt like I wouldn't say I felt like you weren't submitting because I would just be saying that for this episode, but I did feel like
I'm gonna punch you out, little boy.
Our kids are messing with us while we're trying to make the podcast, so just forgive us for. They'll be gone for the summer. Just pray our strength in the Lord. You know, we got really good kids, but
you look handsome in your little shirt.
But they're, you know, they do what they're supposed to do, which is drive us crazy until they move out, and then we'll be sad.
They look so cute in their little outfits.
Oh, boy, still hard. But anyway, I was saying that I don't feel like I felt. I don't want to say you wouldn't submit. I maybe yes, a little bit. I don't know if I felt like at the time you wouldn't submit.
Maybe, I was going to say, maybe you wouldn't have articulated it that way as not submitting.
I was definitely frustrated because you weren't doing what I wanted you to do.
I would definitely call it non-submission.
Yeah, we can say you wouldn't submit.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Because I was like, I think this is what we're going to do as a family. And you were like, no, we're not going to do it like that. And
the reason why is because there was no trust. I wouldn't say there was no respect, but I certainly didn't feel like I trusted the plan that you were, like, putting forth. Because you like to say stuff like, Tyler Perry was homeless before he made it big, so we might be homeless too.
I never said that. No, I said Tyler Perry was homeless, but I never said we might be homeless. So I was insinuating that we might have to struggle a little bit to make it, but I never was like, we're going to live under a freeway. I absolutely said Tyler Perry was homeless, so we might have to struggle. But anyway, I was getting frustrated with, like, Melissa's lack of doing what I wanted her to do. Because we were tired of living in Washington. We didn't have any family there.
No, but the thing was, I wasn't tired of living in Washington. I was working at the bank. I had a good job. We had just bought the house.
Oh, that was another problem.
Yeah.
Getting rid of the house was another problem.
I just didn't feel like it was a good idea. And now that the way everything's laid out, I still don't know. I think it was a good idea. I think you were just seeking wise counsel from me. Because...
So what happened was, when I came here to live in California for 2 months...
Okay, but hold on, time out. Let's go back. Because Melissa was offering wise counsel. I was talking good then to get us where we are here today. And that is...
If you would give me some time, I'm going to give you credit.
No, because I need you to come through. So, you were at Bank of America. You came to KeyBank, got fired. I was like, y'all did my husband wrong. I'm not staying here. And then we both got the jobs at Boeing.
Right.
That was like the best thing ever because it set us up for moving here.
It did. Okay, I wasn't
wise counsel.
I wasn't about to give you credit.
Wise counsel. Not non-submission. Wise counsel. Because you were trying to dictate, and that's why I was
trying to dictate.
And that's why I was bucking.
I was trying to dictate. So, we just put it to bed for a while.
Yeah, a long while.
Especially once I got fired. I was like, well, we ain't gonna move nowhere now because we're broke. We still had the house. So anyway, Zay got the mortgage. Zay got the mortgage. The house had the mortgage. Zay got the movie part. Him and I came down to live in California for 2 months. And I remember telling Melissa while I was here, look, there's just no way I can go back to Washington to live forever. So I wrote a Frederick's Family Manifest Destiny.
Yes, you did.
Active.
Do you still have it?
I still have it in my phone. People ask me sometimes how we did the move. And the Bible was my guiding point. There was a devotion. I don't even remember what the devotion was. But there was one.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yes, he has a devotion. Yes, he reads it every day.
There was one on active dependence. And it was talking about, I can't remember who the person was, but he had sent his servant to find a wife. And it was basically saying along the way, he started moving towards his goal. And he just trusted God that along the way, he would help him. So that was kind of what we did. It wasn't that you do nothing, but you plan as much as you can plan. You do everything you can, and then you trust God that along the way things will happen. So,
and I always say plan, move. Oh, what did I say?
Pray, plan, move.
No. It was like plan, move, plan, trust, move, and faith, or something like that.
Something like that. But anyway, so our initial...
That is it. Plan, trust, move, and faith.
Yeah. So our initial plan was to get jobs in this industry. At Boeing, there was some Boeing plants down here, so we started calling around, and they were like, no, we're not hiring. Matter of fact, we're telling our people to move to Seattle. And we were like, oh, that's not helpful for what we're trying to do. Yeah. But long story short, the deal with Tracy Evans that we did was instrumental in helping us move. But the difference between the first time we talked about moving and the time we actually moved was instead of me just telling Melissa we're moving to Atlanta, it was, Melissa, I feel like our family is going to prosper in Los Angeles for X reason, X, Y, Z. The boys will have this for their career. I will have this for my career, and we'll be able to have a better family. So that's why I think we should move. Here's why I think we should move to Los Angeles instead of any place else. And here's how I think we're going to get there. We're going to, rent the house out. We're going to get jobs at Boeing, or we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do X amount of stand-up. YouTube will do whatever. And what do you think? And she was like, okay, because I tend to be an optimist. And
I'm looking for my saying.
I tend to be an optimist and be like,
everything's going to work out.
Everything's going to work out. I was like, Melissa, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And she was like, okay, I hear you, but we need to be prepared. If X, Y, and Z don't happen, then we're not stuck being homeless. And I was like, okay, I don't think that's going to happen, but let's prepare worst case scenario. And what ended up happening is all the things that she said ended up happening. So our preparation worst case scenario ended up working out. Ended up going that route. So thankfully, I sought the board's advice and wise counsel. And, some things ended up being better that we didn't account for, and some things ended up, going the way she did. But the point I wanted to make was, I think the reason it was easier for you to submit is because the time we really did, I had a plan, and it wasn't like, this is what we're doing. It was like, here's the plan, I think. What do you think about that? And then you were able to give your points of view and blah, blah, blah. Because one of the things that I was afraid of, and men generally are afraid of, is if you make a big decision, something like that. If we moved to California and it was a bust, and I didn't have Melissa's, support, then it's like, nobody wants to hear I told you so. But you definitely don't want to hear I told you so when you made a big decision that didn't work out. Because this is life, man. These are detrimental decisions.
Absolutely.
Because you got kids you're taking out of school. Our kids went from one kindergarten. Zayze was in kindergarten at one school. And then we were in a better position, and JoJo was starting school, so we put them in private school. And then he went out of school and moved to California for 2 months. And then he came back to school only to move. Was it the same year? It was that same school year.
No, not Isaiah. It was the next year.
No, remember, it was the same school year.
No, Kev, because remember he went to Magnolia in December.
No. Listen. I'm gonna tell you. First grade for Zayze. Kindergarten was all Lister. First grade for Zayze was Concordia, right? Miss Becky. He started there, and then in October of that year.
No, because we moved here in March.
Listen, I'm gonna just listen. October of that year, we came down to do Little Rascals. October and November.
Oh, for the movie. Okay.
For the movie. We came back in December. Or we actually came back in Thanksgiving. And then he was back in Concordia, December, January, February. And we moved in March of that year. So that was all in 1 year.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So he ended up going to, that was his third school in 2 years. So, and then he ended up going to another school, the charter school. So if it doesn't work out, and we have to, matter of fact, the reason this was so big for us, if this doesn't work out, we don't have a plan B. We didn't have we can go back to our parents' house and move. We was just going to be.
We rented out our house in Washington.
Rented our house in Washington for a year, so we couldn't go back there. we gave up the jobs at Boeing, which ain't no like, I work at a bank, hey, I'm going to move, and you just call and get your job back. Like, it wasn't that job. We knew that. There was no going back. It wasn't like my dad owned a construction thing. So, had this not worked out, it would have been detrimental to our family and probably our marriage. Mm-hmm. Because if I lose your respect, if I do this without you and just say this is what we're doing, say I quit my job and say we're doing this, and I rent the house out, things like that I could do without your, say so. And if it doesn't work out, then it's going to be really hard for me to get you to be like, okay, so here's how I'm going to fix this. Right. Nah, you didn't listen to me now. Why are you going to listen? Blah, blah, blah. So one thing I was trying to say is men are afraid of women being like, I told you so. And Melissa had a good point. We were talking in our pre-production meetings, and she said that if you get my buy-in first and I'm on board, then I'm not going to have a reason to blow you up if it doesn't work out. Because we both said, here's what we're going to do. I took the lead, but you're on board. Right. It's kind of like being a politician. You you can't do X, Y, and Z unless you get the support of these people. Right. And if you do it without their support and it fails, you're going to look like an idiot. And that's what some of our fears are. And it's also, you got to feel like, a lot of times I feel like some men feel like their wife don't have their best interests in hand. Mm-hmm. So the stuff she's saying is not because I want you. When you were telling me no, it wasn't just you weren't just bucking it just a bucket, but you were saying you were poking holes in a faulty plan because you were like, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right, or we're not gonna do it right. And I knew when I really just came to my senses, I really realized that you were right in some ways.
Always.
And I was right too, because you wouldn't have wanted to move. It wasn't for me saying we.
No, I agree with that. One thing I think is very, very important, so we're going to recap here quickly.
Yes.
So submission, in my opinion, is just being under or subordinate
under the mission.
Under the mission. And that's all it really is at its simplest form that easy. 2 ingredients, respect and trust. So men, because you know that it involves respect and trust, I'm not saying you have to earn the respect and trust because women should submit voluntarily. But to make that a smoother transition, I really do think you have to include her in those decisions.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
She could have input, and she needs to know that her opinion is valued and is heard, and that you're just not going to dismiss what she says. Because, just really quickly, going back to the book, the same way that men require unconditional respect. When a woman feels her opinion isn't valued and she feels dismissed, she doesn't feel necessarily disrespected as much as she doesn't feel loved.
Right.
And that's important because then you just go through this, they call it the crazy cycle. I'm going to do a whole thing on this book because I really, really like it.
You're trying to fit this book in so bad.
Listen, until we do the review, every episode will have a little bit of love and respect in it. Because one thing that they were saying in the book is that the issue is not really the issue. The issue is always about love and respect.
Right.
So a symptom of not submitting, a symptom of a lack of love and respect is not submitting.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this book is so good. It's so life-changing. I'm so like, man, I started it and then I didn't finish it. And so that one time I said, you can be right but wrong at the top of your voice. Mm-hmm. It's from that book.
Is it?
Yeah, I know. That's where I got it from. I started it a few years ago and didn't finish it. Now I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I finish this book? It's like really great.
Right. So to recap, as we close, submitting doesn't have to be as hard. It just means, submitting means to be under the mission of the house. Mm-hmm. It's easier to submit when your husband is led by God.
Yes.
Your wife is really submitting to God's plan for households by nature of following her husband. That's why it's not imperative. It's not that he has to earn her submission.
Right.
If she, should be, he's the head following God. She's underneath him following him as he follows God. It's much easier to have a submissive wife when you bring her into the discussions and the decisions, as opposed to approaching it like a dictatorship. Here's what we're doing. Why? Submit. As opposed to, here's what I think we should do. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Let's craft a plan and then move. Mm-hmm. And submission is given, not taken. So just like respect, she's voluntarily giving her submission and to you, which is more dangerous than taking it. Yeah. If I take it and you just have to do what I say, then you're not really on board anyway. But if I willingly say, okay, you're the leader, and we're going to go with this plan, let's go. Then you know she bought in, so it's more like, shoot, you better not mess up. Mm-hmm. So, you have any final thoughts?
Get the book Love and Respect.
We're trying to finish this book in the next 2 weeks so we can talk about it.
It's by Emerson Eggerichs. You're absolutely right.
Of course, ma'am. I'm the head of the household.
The title of the book is Love and Respect. If you don't have time to sit down and flip pages, go to audible.com. They should totally be a sponsor.
I know, I'm about to say, you haven't shouting out Audible and we ain't getting paid.
They are not a sponsor, just so that we're clear.
But if y'all want to support the podcast, Audible, we respect you for that.
Yes.
We'll take your money and we'll send people here because we really are
legit. You can't see it, but
legitimately using your thing.
So audible.com, and then you can do an audio listen.
All right. We'll see you next week. Miss KevOnStage on Instagram.
Miss KevOnStage.
Melissa Fredericks on Facebook.
Don't follow me on Facebook. I've been really just kind of going off a little bit. I need to all the way pull that in. So just find me on Instagram.
KevOnStage everywhere. See y'all next week.